What's good, and welcome into the official Coaches Clubhouse U.S. Open preview right here on whatever social media channel that you might be watching on. I tell you what, having the U.S. Open in September, it just kind of feels right in 2020. I'm your host, the coach for the PGA Tour, the PGA of America on the West Coast. And my partner this week, my partner on this show, one of the top coaches in all of America, in all the world, and he's on the East Coast. Mr. Travis Fulton is here. Travis, welcome to the show. How are you?
Coach, thanks for having me. I'm ready. It's U.S. Open, baby. Let's go.
We got a lot to talk about over the course of the next 30 minutes. And before we get to our picks, because this is a sports betting preview, but we've got to talk about the course before we can get into our picks, because this course is like nothing that most people have ever seen. Winged foot, if you people are looking on social media, the rough is crazy long. But you've actually spoken to a couple of people who are on the grounds. Give our viewers an idea of what these players are going to be facing this week.
Yeah, I spoke with Gino Bonelli, who's the caddy for Joel Damon. And a funny story with him. He's out there and lost his room, had to find a room real quick, checked into this dive, was like,
I saw that. Oh, was he the one that took the video all the way around
Yes.
with the bullet holes?
Oh
my gosh.
So I've known Gino for a long time. He's a Northwest guy as well. So I had to check in with him. He came on the podcast, and I just had to make sure it was all good to start with. I was like, you safe, man? That didn't look, bullet holes, blood spatter. But anyway, he's fine. But he talked about the golf course, and he's like, look, the rough is just, it's insane. It's long. These guys get in the rough. They're going to be wedging it out. The PGA, it was long, but it was inconsistent. They almost enticed them to kind of try to hit a shot. You're wedging it back out. You're going to take a half a stroke penalty to the field, and then you're going to have to go from there. So it's long. I think the greens are starting to firm up a little bit. They say it's starting to dry out now a little bit. Well, I think we're up against this 2006 U.S. Open when it was there last time. Jeff Ogilvy won +5. I think that's where we're heading.
Well, a lot of the guys, and I kind of lean towards Justin Thomas, who is probably as confident a player as you'll ever find in the world. And he said, I'm not scared of any venue, but this is by far, and it's not close, the hardest golf course I have ever played in my life. Dustin Johnson, who just went second in the FedEx Cup, he said the same thing. He goes, this is really, really hard. Yeah. As a top teacher, if you were working with one of these players and you come and you've got 2 or 3 days, what do you think is the biggest thing they've got to get through their heads in order to be successful?
Well, I think, when you're playing a U.S. Open, it's about patience. You're going to miss some fairways, right? It's going to happen. You're going to miss some greens. I think you just have to not play overly aggressive. Take your medicine, your bogey when it happens. Don't compound the mistakes. I hit it in the rough. You try to get too cute, then you hit it out of the rough, and it goes on the other side in the rough. That's where you got to be careful. So obviously, you've got to hit fairways. This is one of the venues and courses where I think you would sacrifice a little bit of distance to hit more fairways. Play the course from the fairway. Now you can control the spin into these greens, keep the ball below the cup, but it's going to challenge you, right? You're going to miss shots. Don't compound the error. Be patient. Make your bogey. Nothing worse than that, and move on.
Let's talk weather real quick. How much do you think, because normally this is played in June when it's really, really hot, especially in New York. I've lived in Connecticut for damn near my entire adult life till I moved out here to the West Coast. How do you think the weather could be different since we're in the fall as opposed to the dead of summer?
Well, I think we'll see how it plays out. With the wind, is the wind going to be a little different when they play the course? You could see it really spiking up today on the telecast. I think in the morning, it's going to be a little chillier, right? Here in the middle of September versus in the summertime. So I think it's going to be a little chillier in the morning. You start getting in that rough, a little moisture, could play a little bit heavier, in the morning time, this time of year versus say in the summer. But at the end of the day, the rough is long, it's thick. No matter when you're playing, you got to keep it in the short grass, coach. You cannot be spraying the ball around. I don't care what time of year you play it when you got grass like that. It's got to be in the short grass.
All right, there's a lot of people out there right now that they're ready to fire. We get a lot of our numbers from the official sports betting partner of the PGA Tour. That is DraftKings. But if you can't find what we're going to give you there, there's a lot of other sites that you can find these matchups. But we're going to go through 5 different categories, and we're going to give you who we would bet on. And the cool thing about this show is I'm actually betting every single pick that I give to you at home. And I know Travis likes to do that too. So we're going to start with our tournament matchup. And for those of you who are novices in the golf sports betting world, this is a 4-round bet. And if one of the players misses the cut, then the other player, no matter what he does on the weekend, will win this bet. Travis, who do you like for your tournament matchup?
Well, I'm going, you mentioned JT. I'm going to go Xander over JT plus 110. Yeah, I'm not as high on Justin Thomas as everybody else is. Now, I know he put together some decent stuff at the Tour Championship, but at the end of the day, you look at JT and the way he's trending right now. Strokes gained putting, he hasn't putted that well. I mean, his putting, he's been in the -3, -4. I'm a little down on the way JT's looking over the flat stick. Now, we know he's going to chew you up, strokes gained approach. When he's in the fairway, he can do that. But JT can get a little loose off of the tee. I don't like this venue for JT. I think it's very penal off of the tee. He can spray it. I don't like the way the putter's trending. On the flip side, I love what I'm seeing from my man, the X-Man coach. He shot the 4 lowest rounds in Atlanta. And he's starting to put both engines together. Like, he kind of got, he was playing golf there in the summer, and it was like both engines were going and then one would cut out. And then he'd get that one started, and then the other one would cut out. And then he'd get that one started, and it was like he just couldn't get them both going. You know what? They're both going now. Both engines are going. So give me the X-Man over JT. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple big numbers here from JT Thursday, Friday. And X-Man, well, I'm going to save that when we get to the winner's pick here a little bit later. That's who I got.
I actually agree with your pick. I actually agree with that because for all the reasons that you said, JT is not necessarily the straightest driver of the golf ball. And that's going to add at least 2, 3, maybe 4 shots around if guys are not hitting the fairway. So I actually like that pick for Xander over JT. My tournament pick, I'm going to go Chez Reavie. I'm going a little bit lower off the radar a little bit. -140 is all over Will Zalatoris. Now, a lot of people may not have seen the Safeway Open just a week ago. I called it for PGA Tour Live. Chez Reavie went bananas on his final 9 holes. Why, Travis? Because he was getting ready for the U.S. Open. He was getting dialed in. So he had 6 birdies on his final 9 holes, and that will carry it over. And I'll be honest with you. You and I know just about every player in their background on the PGA Tour. But if I've got Chez Reavie against a guy that I don't know a lot about, I'm taking Chez Reavie if I get it less than -150.
Now, let me tell you a little something about Will Zalatoris, okay?
Okay.
We're talking 11 consecutive cuts on the Korn Ferry Tour.
Okay.
All right. We're talking a terrific driver of the ball. Now, I'm a little worried about this pick. I like Chez. I mean, he was 3rd last year. He can hit fairways. But I'm telling you right now.
Pressure.
I'm telling you right now, we're just probably 4 months away from really knowing who Will is. I don't know if he's going to make it happen here at the Open, but this is a polished player. He hits it long. He hits it straight. He's a good iron player. His putting, little iffy, right? You'll see he's a little unorthodox from the flat stick standpoint, but I'm telling you, this kid can go. He'll be on the PGA Tour. He's an up and comer. Man, I don't know. I'm a little concerned, Coach. I'm a little.
If I didn't look up all my Korn Ferry stats for the U.S. Open preview, I'm confident with Chez Reavie. So, Travis, you have Xander, and I have Chez Reavie in our tournament matchup. Okay.
All right.
Our round 1 matchup, and for those who are not familiar, this is just a bet for Thursday's round only. So this is a different kind of thought process than thinking over the course of 4 days. Travis, who do you got?
I am proud to announce that my man, Sanjay M, is back. Sanjay M is back, and he is going over his young counterpart, Viktor Hovland. I am concerned about Viktor Hovland. Let me tell you why. 2 reasons.
Okay.
One is we know his short game is an opportunity for him, right? His short game is no question the worst part of his game. I mean, he's chunking it, fluffing it from good lies. Now he's going to get in this head. And we'll see. The other thing is with Vic is that I see other teachers now. I see another teacher posting his swing saying, we got some good work in today. I'm like, wait a minute. Victor doesn't work with that guy. He works with, like, what does this guy do? Like, what's he searching for? You know,
Okay.
He's a young player. I don't like that. That concerns me going into a U.S. Open, a different team. Anyway, so I'm out on Vic. When I see that, I don't understand that a young player's searching right now. Maybe he's not. Maybe it's nothing. But more importantly, my man Sanjay is back. COVID crushed Sanjay. He was rolling, and COVID hits, right? And he can't play golf anymore. It got so bad. Coach, even Sanjay took a week off.
And he bought a house. And he bought a house too.
I was like, I don't even know who this guy is. But he's back. He's playing good.
He is playing good.
And he's he's built for this.
I got to throw this out at you. Who was the low amateur a year ago at the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach? Do you know the answer to that?
Was it Victor Hovland?
You're damn right it was Victor Hovland. So I am shocked. I am shocked that of the 80-some choices you had, 70-some choices that you had, that you would pick against the low amateur.
I wanted to give him something to think about here, right? I'm down on Vic right now. I don't like his short game. What's he gonna do when he gets in this stuff?
Are you guys like best buddies? You call him Vic, like you call him like Vic?
Victor Hovland, man.
Tight?
Yeah.
Oh, it's my.
No, I'm tight with Sanjay. My boy Sanjay. We're tight.
Your boy Sanjay.
Yeah.
All right. That's my boy Sanjay. All right. Well, I think you're going to live to regret that one.
Okay.
So mine, I was looking through a couple of different sites, right? I love DraftKings, but they don't always have the matchup that I want.
Fair enough.
For some reason, Vegas is still in love with Bryson DeChambeau. They haven't figured out that he plays Army golf a lot of the time. Left, right. And if you're going to give me Dustin Johnson minus 155, and I made this bet already. I'm holding my ticket. It's a virtual ticket. And minus 155 over Bryson for Thursday, I'll take that all the way to the bank because Dustin, you've got to show me, Travis, that he is not still red hot. You've got to show me that he's not going to beat everybody that he goes up against in any bet this weekend. He's playing better than anybody else. And if I get it below 175 or 200 against a guy who can't even find a fairway right now in Bryson DeChambeau, what do you make of my pick?
I agree. I agree with that one. I think Bryson, he's tailored off, no question. He's playing great golf there in the summertime.
Yeah.
His approach game is what I'm concerned about. He's putting good, but his approach game, I'm looking at it right now. He's lost strokes in the approach game. Let's see, 6 out of the last 7 tournaments. You can't do that on the PGA Tour.
You can't do that.
You can't do that on the PGA Tour.
Or finish high.
If you can't do that and beat Dustin Johnson.
Correct.
Right. So
Correct.
I agree, Coach. I think I don't like what I'm seeing from Bryson right now, and especially for 4 days over the tournament, patience and emotional stability. But this is one round. I like DJ. I mean, how can you not? DJ's.
And this is what I love about Vegas. And Vegas is usually really good in the NFL, college football, but there's so many different ways to bet on golf that some things just fall through the cracks. And this is one of those times. This should be at least, in my opinion, a minus 200, meaning betting 200 to win 100. This is betting 155 to win 100. And to me, with Dustin Johnson, I would have taken this number, to be honest, against anybody in the field. Yeah. But you give me Bryson all day. All right, yep. Category number 3. And this is where it gets interesting because it's no longer a matchup. You're talking about performance. So give me a top 20 pick that you like, Travis.
Well, it's at some point here in the United States, we're going to give Terrell Hatton his due. He's still one of the most underrated players on the PGA Tour. T26 last year, T6 the year before that. I think he's a better player now than he was then. He's had a great run here since COVID. Had a couple tournaments where he kind of fell off. but he's back at it now again, coach. He's the complete player too. I mean, you look at Terrell Hatton and you look at his stats, and if you read those stats off, and I told you, these are the stats of like a Webb Simpson, a Daniel Berger, you'd be like, yeah, I believe it. But then I tell you Terrell Hatton, and you're like, oh, okay, what? Who is that again? Yeah, Terrell Hatton. He's playing more full-time in the United States. He's got no weaknesses. He's playing good. And let me tell you something. He ain't scared. This guy's not scared. He's coming right at you. He's going to hit fairways. Let me tell you something. He is a great putter, too. You have to make those 8-footers, right, to keep the rounds going. He's got that.
He's my favorite golfer right now to watch play because he's like Jordan Spieth, only he's way more self-deprecating. And he loves to make fun of himself, right? If it's a bad shot, he'll let you have it. He just talks all the time. But to your point, he's now matching up his world-class playing around the world with his game.
Yeah.
And that equals, I think, a top 20 pick. And if you're getting him at plus money, that's really good value. Now, my pick, you see him on the screen right there, about the same odds as Terrell Hatton, and that's Patrick Reed. And the reason I picked him, Travis, is because I need grinders this week. I need guys that are not going to let a 75 on Thursday completely knock them out of what they're doing. That one bad round is not going to mentally knock them down. And I think Patrick Reed, when you match him up with the U.S. Open, he hasn't had great results yet, but he's had decent. And we know he's won the Masters. So I think this could be a perfect venue for him because he's so mentally strong. And you give me plus 150, meaning a $100 bet will win me 150. I like Patrick Reed to finish in the top 20 because, Travis, don't you believe what Jack Nicklaus used to say, that you can kind of eliminate half the field at these type of majors because they just don't believe they can win anyway?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's an accurate statement, the mental fortitude. And then just also like when you have weaknesses, they can get exposed quick, right, on these kinds of courses. And you just get the feeling with Reed, he's so good around the greens. I mean, the guy is magic with the wedge around the greens, his putting. His driving can get a little loose, but you kind of get the feeling with Reed, he can have a day where he can still scramble and hold it around par, right?
Yeah.
He's still going to kind of hang in there, be mentally tough, and then chip away a couple birdies on a Saturday. And all of a sudden, oh, there's Patrick Reed. He's one over and only two back, right? I mean, that's the kind of golf he is. I agree. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Patrick Reed clip off a U.S. Open to go with his Masters at some point.
Before we get to top 10 bets, I want to throw one other name out at you and get your reaction to this.
Yeah.
I almost went with Kevin Kisner for my top 20. What do you think?
Well, Kisner's had a few things to think about, right? Off of the tee with his tweets and hitting send, he's gotten a little bit of trouble. So that factors in for me a little bit on where he's at mentally. You talk about a grinder, you talk about someone who, is that mental toughness, right? He certainly has it. He has the short game. And I think in a venue like this, he's not the longest, but I think in a venue like this, I'm okay giving up a little distance here. I mean, it's going to play long, but I'm okay giving up a little distance to hit more fairways. And a Kevin Kisner, a Brendan Todd, a Kevin Streelman, kind of one of those, those are the kind of guys, although a Kisner's probably a little more polished than a Streelman, but a Todd's had a great season. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys to me can hit a lot of fairways and just kind of wear you out with pars. Yeah, and just hang in there. Yeah,
I love all three of those names that you just said. Todd Streelman played great last week at the Safeway, and Kevin Kisner, and I do believe he was incredibly sorry for just the dumb tweet that he put out, and he took it on the chin, and he should have taken it on the chin.
He owned it, right? That's what you got to do. Take some accountability, own it. That's right.
100%.
That's right.
100%. All right, let's move on to our fourth category, and this is about players that are going to play really well. They're going to be contending for the title, and they're going to be finishing in the top 10. Travis, who do you got?
Well, it's time for Webb. It's time for Webb Simpson again. He knows a thing or two about U.S. Opens. He's won one. He's coming in at 250, Coach, and I like Webb. I think he struggled a little bit around the greens and on the green at Eastlake, but you go to the Northern Trust, he was 6th. The Wyndham, he was 3rd. I think he had some driver issues at the PGA, the WGC. It was kind of a little un-Webb-like, but I think he settled that down. I think he's got the driver in play. He's 16th in fairways. He's long enough. Great hybrid long iron play. He's fine with 3 or 4 head covers in his back, folks. He's okay with a couple of those hybrids. He's comfortable in his skin. I like him here, but he's got to drive the ball well. He didn't putt good at the Tour Championship, but he's back on this little POA, right? This whole POANA. When you hear that word, sometimes like you just start seeing statistics go the other way with some guys. It just kind of throws everything up in the air. Well, excuse me. I lost my, here's my bobblehead here just in case. Yeah. POA doesn't scare Webb. It doesn't scare Webb. He likes this surface. So I think the way he's driving it, if he can get it in play, he'll let the rest of his game go to work. He's patient. He knows how to win a U.S. Open. I like him at 250.
I think people forget sometimes that he did win a U.S. Open.
Yeah, right?
People forget he did that on the West Coast, and he's really upped his game. I love Webb Simpson. I don't think anybody could argue with that pick, and certainly at plus money. I'm going to go with a guy that has odds that are a little bit higher, Travis, than Webb. And this is a guy who played great at the PGA Championship, had one of the most graceful post-round interviews you're ever going to hear from a 43-year-old dude who probably just had his last chance to win a major, who's never won a major, and basically said about Colin Morikawa he deserved to win it. And I thought his grace was really, really incredible to watch. And I'm talking about Paul Casey. I've got Paul Casey at plus 450, and we know that with his attitude, his positivity, that a bogey, a double bogey, hell, even a triple bogey is not going to keep Paul Casey down. And he proved at the PGA that he still has the game to compete at the highest level in these major championships. And I think now the fact that there's no fans, a guy like Paul Casey should be even more of a favorite because he doesn't get distracted and he doesn't rely on the fans to get him going. And we've seen guys like Rory, Tiger admit that it has affected them to not have the fans out there. Paul Casey, it hasn't affected him. So I'm going to take Paul Casey for my top 10 pick. Do you like it?
Well, you could just probably go ahead and mail that money to me right now and just save yourself if you want. Paul Casey, look, tee to green, check. He marks all the boxes. I don't like him on this surface at all.
I know.
These big undulating greens, POA is just kryptonite. I mean, it's like he's got to be like, oh my gosh, I got to putt these greens for, he screams 3 putts to me.
I did not even realize till I called last week about how big of a difference. And then this is just me learning at the highest level about all these different kinds of grasses and stuff.
Yeah.
And Charlie Reimer and Robert Dammer, they were explaining to me that some players can play great on POANA.
Yeah.
And some players cannot. And it's usually about where you grew up and where you played the most. If you're a West Coast guy, it's usually POANA and then Bermuda and other parts of the country. So I didn't know it was such a big deal till I watched about 95% of the guys at the Safeway not get the ball to the hole.
Yeah.
They could not get the ball to the hole no matter what they tried to do. So
it's
I
interesting
agree with what you're saying.
I mean, it's interesting. It really is. And I'm looking at it right now. And Paul gains strokes on bent grass. Like he does gain a little bit on bent. That's his best surface. And then POA is his worst surface. So, that's always a green flag. And POA is like, it's just a different kind of surface. I mean, it's just like, I don't like it. I didn't grow up on it. When I'm on it, it just messes with you and the way it looks and the way the ball rolls, the way you got to hit it. Some guys are like Webb, putts POA nicely. DJ, good. John Rahm, good. JT, good. They check it off. They're gaining strokes POA. But others, man, you see it go the other way. And that's been through that learning curve. I'm like, I'm out. Like, I don't like that surface.
All right, I may have to hedge my bet now.
Well, I just saying,
Paul Casey.
My address. I'll give you my address, and you can just go ahead.
All right, for those of you watching, thank you for that. We've come to our final bet. We've come to the most important bet, and if you hit it, you're going to win the most money. That's just the way that it goes. It's time to pick a winner of the 2020 U.S. Open at Winged Foot. Travis, who do you got?
Well, every player's got to take that step, right? We saw Gary Woodland do it last year. He got his major championship. I think it's time for Xander to get his major championship. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, he would get, both engines just weren't going at the same time. They would go for a few holes and then the one would pewter out, but he was still hanging in there, right? He was 10th at the PGA, probably with his B+ game. I think his A game's happening now. We saw it at East Lake, 4 rounds. No one was better. He was T3 last year at the U.S. Open. He was T6 in 18. He was T5 in 2017. You look at his stats. He has no weaknesses. 3rd off the tee, 37th in approach, 37th around the green, 33rd putting. His best surface is POA. I just think all the stars are lining up here. Just go out, play your game, Xander, and maybe, and just maybe, Coach, a little break, right? You got to get a break once in a while. And we saw that with Ogilvy and Mickelson. He kind of, Mickelson probably would have played that 72nd hole a little different the last time. It was at Winged Foot. So you got to get a little break, as Ogilvy did. Xander gets his break and gets his first major championship this year at Winged Foot +1.
Well, here's the thing. A couple of reasons why I don't like that pick.
Okay.
I don't like making a pick against 150 other players that is less than +2,500.
Okay.
But you had to pick a winner. That's part of what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that I don't like the pick. I just wouldn't bet the pick. And also, when you look at all the other guys, see, you're a stats guy. You're a teacher. You're an expert. You got it all. I pick by gut. I pick by who's going to dig deep, who's going to have the skills at the end of the week to pay the bills. You threw out so many great stats, and they all make sense. And they all add up to why Xander probably should at some point win his first major. And a lot of people would agree with you that the U.S. Open would make sense for Xander to make this his first major championship.
Right.
I'm going to go with a guy that his odds are over 3,600, plus 3,650 to be exact. And that is a man who's not played all that well this summer. And it's a man who has not been at the top of the leaderboards this summer. But we've seen him that when he brings his game together, whether it's at the Memorial, whether it's at Vegas, wherever it is, when Patrick Cantley puts it all together, he can play the toughest courses with some of the best. And I saw Jason Sobel from the Action Network put together a list of guys who played some of the toughest courses in the last 12 to 18 months. And Patrick Cantley was right up there with the formula that he was using. And so I'm taking Patrick Cantley because my gut tells me that when we get to Sunday, he's going to be right there at the pay window hoping to cash his ticket, which will be good for about $2 million if you win this week. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of cheddar. So did
Cantley make it to East Lake as one of the top players? I don't think he did, right? I don't even think he was there because he didn't play good enough recently to even get to East Lake because of his performance at the Northern Trust.
So you're going to throw that out at me. So what I'm going to toss back at you is that we had a little bet, did we not? And we
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that. And I'm going to pull my Stephen A. You don't remember that? And I believe that there are 2 people on this show right now, and one of them owes the other one a dinner in Florida the next time he comes. Who would that be?
That was true. That's true. You won that bet. True. And
so
I owe you dinner.
Yes.
But we're talking about a different bet now.
I know. That's the only thing I can come back with, because you're right. He did make it there. He hasn't been playing well.
But you're right. But the Cantley is a player, right? Like he's tough to watch play. I mean, he shows no emotion.
Oh, I know.
It's just like, come on, man. Like, give us a smile. Just something. Throw us a bone. Like,
even when he won the Memorial, he couldn't get excited like a normal person would get excited.
Like, I want to give you a hug,
I know.
And he just won't give you anything.
I know.
And it's like, so anyway, but he's a player. It's like, there you are, late Saturday. He's like, Cantley's T5. What? Where the hell did he come from?
Right.
You know, I mean, that's the kind of guy he is. You're right. He's tough. He plays tough courses well. Memorial. I just think recently, Northern Trust, he chopped it up at that place, and that was U.S. Open style.
Right.
Or no, excuse me. The BMW he played better. Northern Trust, he didn't play well there, but he didn't. To me, he's just like, he's not quite there all cylinders. His approach game's not quite where it needs to be, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him grind, hang it in there. Like you said, with Cantley, you just kind of get the feeling like he's not throwing shots away, right? Like he's not throwing anything away. He's going to kind of milk it out for what he has. He gets the approach game going. It's a reasonable bet.
All right. Well, we've got 5 categories. Take it to the pay window. Tell your friends. Watch the show. It's the best 30-minute U.S. Open preview that you're ever going to watch. And I feel like, Travis, we need to do this again for the Masters in a couple of months.
I'm in.
If you want to. So let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, this is fantastic. Real quick, tell people where they can listen to your podcast.
Yeah, go to Instagram at Travis Fulton Golf, Twitter at Travis Fulton. The podcast is Stripe Show Podcast. You can get it on any of the platforms. Go check it out. Really funny one with Gino Benelli, the caddy. I'm telling you, epic story of his experience and where he had to stay last night at up in the New York area.
And if you haven't seen the video, find it on Twitter. It's about 2 minutes long.
Oh, it's
and
beautiful.
It's some of the funniest stuff
it's beautiful.
you've ever seen. All right, that's going to do it for us.
Yeah.
Enjoy the U.S. Open. Enjoy the next 4 days. We'll have video outs over the course of the 4 days, recapping and stuff like that. But we always appreciate you catching us here at Coach's Clubhouse. And we'll see you probably next time for the Masters. For Travis Fulton, the best coach in all of the land, and I am the coach. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time right here, Coach's Clubhouse.
See you.